Hello, everybody. This is Todd Huff, your instructor for your summer introductory statistics course. As promised, I am back to show you how to access My Math Lab. So My Math Lab is the online homework and quiz managing system where all of the work for this course will be completed. And to show you how to get into there, first in Blackboard, if you scroll down, there's a section that says before you start the course. If you open that up, there will be, first of all, written instructions for accessing My Math Lab. And one of the things we need from there is, of course, the website, mlm.pearson.com/North America. That's actually as far as you need to go with that. And then you also need this course code, HOFF, as in my last name, Hoff. So HOFF 62240. And that code will tell My Math Lab what course you're taking. So make sure it gets you enrolled in my course. To get into My Math Lab, you'll have to purchase access. This is not free. It is actually what you purchase from the bookstore for your textbook. So if you're looking in the bookstore, what you'd actually be purchasing so on the bookstore website, if you were to click on Introductory Statistics for the Summer, you will see that it lists it's a My Lab Statistics with Pearson eText. So it's just a combo access card. You will purchase that, or if you don't want to go through the college website, you can save a few dollars. There's like a 20% markup on the website. You can save a little bit of money if you just purchase access as you are registering in My Math Lab, and I'll show you how that works here. So you just go to My Math Lab. So mlm.pearson.com/North America. That'll take you to this site here. And once you've registered, of course, you just click sign in. But for now, you need to create an account. So you need to come down here where it says no account yet. Register now. And so you're going to click on student access. And then it's going to ask some questions. Are you using an LMS? So we are using Blackboard, but we are not linked. So you're going to click on no here. And that's going to take you down below telling you these are the things you need. You need your instructor's ID. So that's what I had showed you before, that HOFF 62240. You need an email address. I highly suggest or highly recommend you use your Northwood Tech College email address. It makes it a lot easier if there's any issues later. Make sure you write, if you use a different email address, make sure you write down what email address you used, and make sure you write down whatever personal information you give there to create your account, including your password. The most common problem we have is people create their account, they go directly into My Math Lab and work for a while, and then the next time they come back, they forget either what email address they used or what their password is, or sometimes they create a separate username different than their email address. Make sure you write all that down so you don't have problems with it later. Then you need an access code. So this would either be the code that you purchase through the bookstore, or you can purchase access as you register. So once you have all that stuff, then down here, all you need to do is click I am ready to register, and it'll take you to the registration site. First thing it's going to ask for is that course code, HOFF 62240. Then it'll take you to the next step. Now, right now, it's not going to go any further because this course is not open for registration until early May. So you can see it says not accepting registration at this time. So it's going to be a while before it accepts registration, but by the time this video comes to you, you will be able to log into that. Then the next thing it would do would be asking you to create your account where you would enter your email address, your username. I recommend you just repeat your email address as your username. If you use a different username, make sure you write it down. And then what you're going to use as a password and all that other stuff. Once you've entered that, then it will ask you for paying for your access. Now, if you have not been able to purchase it at the bookstore and you don't have the ability to pay with a credit card or PayPal as you are registering, there is an option to get a 14-day free trial. So that'll allow you to get for the first 2 weeks of the summer, so that you can get started. So saying I don't have the money or I'm waiting for financial aid is not an excuse not to start the course. You can get the first 2 weeks free just by using that free trial. If you're going to do that, I recommend that you wait then and don't create your account until June 8th or 9th at the beginning of the course, unless you know you're going to get your financial aid or going to have the resources to pay for it soon. Otherwise, your 2-week trial, students will register 2 weeks ahead of class, and their trial is expired before the course even starts. And then they're sitting there without access. You do need to upgrade that free trial to paid access within that 2 weeks, or the work you've done could be lost. So make sure you are prepared for that. Now, once you have done that, the next time you come into my math lab, you're just going to click into sign into my math lab. Actually, just sign into my lab. Running a little slow today, but it'll get us to then a second screen to log into the My Math portion of the lab. And there you'll have all your courses. So here you see the Introductory Statistics Summer 2025. You'll click on that to get into the course. And now you're in My Math Lab. So I would highly recommend that once you create your account, rather than jumping into work, go ahead and log out and then log back in to make sure all your login information is working. Just so you don't have that issue. Once you start the class, this class is going to move very fast. We're squeezing 16 weeks into an 8-week summer term. So every week of the course is really 2 weeks. So every 3 or 4 days is a week of class here in the summer. So once you're into My Math Lab, the things you need to find, see assignments here. If you click on assignments, that'll list all of the assignments for the course. You can see the preliminary assignment, due date on the 10th. So that's on that Tuesday of the first week of class. Comes up very quickly, so make sure you're ready for that. And then week 1A. So as I said, each week is actually 2 weeks of material. So week 1 is divided up into 1A and 1B. Week 1A is the first half week that's due on Thursday the 12th. So that's only 4 days into the semester that you have your first set of assignments due. There's a practice homework and a quiz due for each half week of the course. 1B then will be due on the following Monday, and then you can see down through here, there's test review and test coming up. It says week 6, but it's actually the second half of week 3. And then as we go down through here, you see all the assignments listed. If you're doing a homework assignment, I'm going to pick one of these down here a little further. You click on that, you can just click Start. And you'll have all the problems listed down the side here. You can navigate, you can jump ahead to a question if you want to. As you're doing the homework, if you're not sure what to do, along the bottom you have what we call help topics. Now, the first one I would suggest is if you want to click here, you can view a video or you can see a section in the textbook that deals with this topic if you want to read in the e-text. That would help you get familiar with the topic. So you can actually use the homework as a way to help learn the material as well. If you need StatCrunch, that is there as well. We'll come back to Ask My Instructor in a little bit. If the video or the textbook doesn't help, view an example. That'll actually take you down through an example step by step as to how to solve a similar problem. And you keep hitting continue and it'll step you step by step through the problem, getting you an answer. If you click Help Me Solve This, what it'll do is it'll bring up this exact problem and it'll ask you to put in information. So the minimum value of the data, 2, maximum value, 8.5. Check your answer at each step. That's correct. So it's going to make you input information at each step. So similar to the show me the example, but now it's going to do the exact problem that's listed here, and you have to input the information that it asks for. Now I'm just going to click out of this. Notice though, once I click out of there, all these numbers up here just changed. So you can still now go back and do the problem, but it's going to change the numbers. So you'll have to start all over doing the same steps you just did in the help me solve this, but now with a new data set. If that doesn't work, that's where you can come back to this get more help and see ask my instructor. And what that'll do is that'll send me an exact copy of the question you're working on, and you can put your message in here to tell me. It might be something simple like, I think I've got it right, but I'm not sure if I'm entering my form of my answer correctly or whatever. You can give me a specific information on what is confusing you on this question, and then I can answer. So it's important that you use this if you have a question on a homework question, because if you just send me an email saying, I have a question on homework 2A, question 22, well, we've seen that these are algorithmic. The numbers can change. So if I go to my homework 2A, question 22, it'll be the same type of problem, but I will be seeing different numbers. So it can be quite confusing to you if I'm trying to answer your question using different numbers than what you're seeing in the problem. By clicking that, ask my instructor, it'll send me an exact copy of the question you're working on so that I can answer your question using the exact numbers that you are seeing as you are working on that question. Now, with that said, I do always caution against overusing these. I have students every semester that say, well, the homework goes real easy. I breeze right through it. And then when I get to the quiz, I have no idea what to do. And usually what the case is that student is using view an example or help me solve this on every homework problem. And then they get to the quiz and they don't have those. The quizzes, you don't have that option. None of those help topics are there. You have to figure out what to do on your own. And so the trap there is in math, especially in statistics. Statistics is actually very simple calculations as far as math is concerned. It's the processes that are difficult and figuring out what process to use that's difficult. Well, if you click the view an example, it shows you what process to do. So then all you have to do is go back and plug in the numbers to that process and get the answer. If you're on the quiz, so if you do that on the homework, you don't know how to figure out what process to use. It showed you what process to use, and all you're doing is just plugging in numbers. Then you get to the quiz, and it doesn't show you what process to use. You can struggle trying to figure out what to do on a given problem. So if you do use one of these help topics, what I advise is that you click view an example, and as you view that example, you figure out, okay, this is the process being used. Make sure you ask yourself and look back at the question and say, what in this question is telling me that this is the process to use? Because as I said, once you hit the quiz, you're not going to have those help topics, and that's where students tend to struggle a bit. So on these homework assignments, you can redo a problem as many times as you want to. If you get this answer incorrect 3 times, it's going to ask you to either move on or view a new question. You can view a new question and it'll change the numbers, and you can try again 3 times. The quizzes, as I said, when you get to the quizzes, let me go back to the assignments here. You will not have those help topics on the quizzes, and you won't be able to go back and forth from questions to questions. In the homework, you can check your answer on each individual question after you do it, and you know whether you're right or wrong before you move on to the next question. On the quiz, you have to complete every question before it'll allow you to check your answers. So on the quiz, you'll have to submit the quiz when you're done. And then once that happens, you cannot go back and redo questions. However, if you submit the quiz and you are not happy with your grade, each of the quizzes and the exams you can do twice. So if you take the quiz, you don't like your grade, you can review the questions you got wrong. If you just go in the grade book and click on your score, it'll allow you to then pull up the quiz that you did, and you can go through and look at the questions you have wrong. When you do that, what it's going to show you in the answer box, it's going to give the correct answer. And to see what you answered, you have to click on that answer box and it'll pull up, it might say the correct answer is 8. You click on the answer box, it says you answered 7. So when you're viewing that, be aware that you look at it and say, well, the answer in the box is correct. Why did it mark it wrong? Because that's the correct answer. Your answer, you have to click on it to see what you answered on those questions. But then you can see the questions you got wrong. You can study those, and then you can retake the quiz. And the exams can be retaken once as well. So you get 2 attempts on each quiz and 2 attempts on each exam. All the homework assignments and the review assignments you can redo as many times as you want to get to where you need to. Again, the main purpose of the homework and the reviews is to prep you for the quizzes and the tests. With that said, like I said, you can do the tests and quizzes twice. Make sure you are planning ahead. Don't start the quiz at 10 p.m. on the night that it's due, because they're due at 11:59 p.m. and at 11:59 p.m. the system will shut you down even if you're in the middle of the quiz. So you might have time to take the quiz once, but if you don't like your grade and want to take it again, there's a good chance you're not going to have time to take it a second time. And time management is one of the important tasks in this class, so make sure you're planning ahead and doing things early. As I mentioned before in the introductory video, if you're going to be away from the internet or in a situation where you might not have computer or internet access, make sure you plan for that. You can work ahead. I've had students complete this whole course in the first 2 weeks and be done with it. And that's just fine if that's what you want to do. But not having computer access or not managing your time correctly and not having time to retake the quiz will not be an excuse for extensions on an assignment. So make sure you're planning for that. This is a tough course. It does require a lot of time, especially in a summer setting where everything is condensed and accelerated. So make sure you're planning for that. I highly recommend that this be your only course that you're taking, or the very most one other course. If you're loaded up on a bunch of classes during the summer, this is not a great fit for that situation. So that is all of your My Math Lab information that you will need. Once you go in there, like I said, click on assignments. You can also view your grade book. If you click on student grade book, you'll see right now there's no grades in there because I haven't completed any assignments. It does say homework 2A, 0 out of 23, because I accessed that assignment. It's appearing, but obviously I didn't complete anything there. The 2 other things that are important to you in My Math Lab here, one is e-text contents. If you click on that, it brings up the table of contents. And you can go, let's say I want to work on chapter 3. I can click there, figure out what section. Well, if you don't know what section to access in the ebook, if you're looking in the homework, at least, the quizzes won't necessarily tell you this, but let's go back to that homework 2A that we were looking at. If I'm working on this question here, if you look up at the top, it'll say question 5, 3.1.29. So that 3.1, what that is saying is this is chapter 3, section 1. So if I go back to the ebook table of contents, chapter 3, section 3.1, that is the section of the ebook that contains the information that's in that homework question. So you can either watch a video presentation or you can actually go to the e-text and read through it. Outside of the ebook, the other thing that's here for you is StatCrunch. So if you click on StatCrunch, it's going to bring up this menu. You're going to just say, visit the StatCrunch website. And you'll have to open StatCrunch. And you'll see this is set up similar to Excel, but with a lot of menus up here. Most of the things you're going to need are either in data or in stat menu. And you can see a lot of the tests and probabilities we're going to do are in there. In each of the weekly, actually half-weekly topic videos, I will show you a little bit about how to use StatCrunch. But this is where you'd access that from. So if you don't have a TI-84 calculator, or you're not able to install the add-ons in Excel, StatCrunch is, in fact, for many of the things, StatCrunch is much easier to use than Excel. The easiest option is the TI-84 calculator, but again, I don't expect you to go out and spend $120 or $130 for one of those. But StatCrunch is here. I would say that's probably your second best option, is to just use the StatCrunch built into MyMathLab. So with that, if you have any questions or difficulties getting into MyMathLab, please let me know. Otherwise, have a good day, and we'll see you in class.